exam-based education. And training number 2 is the truth about your children's social media addiction. When I talk about children here, I'm generally referred to youth and young adults and emerging professionals. And so we discussed that. Training number 3 is using social media as a career building tool. And today is training number 4. So we are talking about the biggest challenge facing today's students. And if you missed any of the 3 trainings, and so make sure that you write down replay link, and I'm going to send you the replay links if you are interested in checking them out. And today we're talking about the biggest challenge facing today's students, and I will be talking about life skills. Okay, and I'm live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on my personal page, on my business page. I'm also live on YouTube and live on Periscope / Twitter and on Twitch. So we're live on quite a few places, and if you are live with me right now, and so let me know in the comment section where you are joining me live from, social media wise and geographically speaking. I'm just going to quickly check on LinkedIn to see if I'm actually going live. Looks like I am live. So let's get started with today's training. And let me know. How are you guys doing? Okay, so let's get started. And ever since COVID, so many parents have approached me, and I have been on so many webinars, podcasts, I don't even remember, dozens of. And so one question that parents ask me a lot is, how can I get my children be prepared? Again, I'm talking about middle school, high school, college age students. So how can I get my kids be prepared for the future? And normally when they are introducing themselves or their own children, they will say something like, my children go to a really good school or go to an average school and they love learning, they don't love learning. And then the second sentence is always about their GPA. And for those of you outside of the United States, when I'm talking about GPA, which means grade point average. So they will always introduce their children through the lens of their grade or academic performance. So what I'm about to share with you in a few seconds is going to disrupt everything you know about academic performance and why academic performance or GPA grade point average is only the tip of the iceberg to help you prepare your children for the future. Okay, only the tip of the iceberg. And even though many well-intentioned parents, they think that, my children's grade, how many A's, how many B's, 4.0, that is the only thing that matters to prepare them for the future. And I'm going to share with you with some tough love, that is wrong. You are missing the bigger picture. Okay, so I'm going to share 3 facts to back this up, why academic performance or grade is only the tip of the iceberg to help your children become future ready. Hello, I have someone join us live from Malaysia. That is exciting. So number 1. So right now we're talking about why academic performance is only the tip of the iceberg to future-proof our children, okay? So fact number 1 is GPA, again, grade point average, is actually inversely related to innovation orientation. Okay, so what this means is that the higher the grade, the less likely that a kid is to innovate. Okay. And if I think I can assume that most parents want their children to become an innovator and to create something new. So if that is the case, GPA, grade point average, is the wrong benchmark. Okay, so the higher the GPA, the less likely the kid is to innovate. In other words, the higher the GPA, the kid is more likely to innovate. Okay, so that's reason number one. And let me share number two. So number two is from my favorite company. Sorry. So number two is saying that scores, test scores, academic performance, GPA, they are worthless when it comes to hiring. Okay, and this doesn't come from me. This actually comes from Google. And Google said this a few years ago. And when they did an interview, they mentioned that at Google, they stopped using GPA, grade point average, academic performance, or scores as a way to evaluate their candidates. Okay, from Google, scores are worthless. Okay, and a few days ago, actually, Google just launched another press release, and so in that press release, and they mentioned. And so they mentioned that Google is actually launching career certifications to replace the traditional four-year college. Very interesting. And so their career certifications so far cover three areas. One is project management. Another one is data analyst. And the third one is user experience designers. Okay, so the certifications will take about half a year and a few $100s to complete. And Google is going to use those certifications and to replace the traditional four-year college when they are hiring people in those specific fields. Very interesting, right? You can see from Google, and actually 20 plus companies are already no longer require degree as a way to work at those companies, including Google, IBM, Apple, Starbucks, Hilton, and so many other organizations. So you can see from those companies like Google, those decisions that they are making to kind of, indicate that academic performance is carrying less and less weight. And we have more people. Hello. Thank you for joining me live. And we are talking about the biggest challenge facing today's students. And so far, we are talking about why academic performance is only the tip of the iceberg for your children to be future ready. Okay, so first we discussed GPA is inversely related to innovation. And second, we discussed Google, and many organizations are no longer using GPA, academic performance, as a way to select candidates to work at those Fortune 500 companies. Okay, and fact number three. And fact number three is from my personal favorite company, Adobe. I'm a proud Adobe education leader, so I love everything that Adobe does. So it's a Adobe study, and they, for this particular study, Oh, we have someone from Germany. Oh, thank you so much for joining us live. So here's a very interesting, hold on, very interesting comment. And this ease of getting those certificates will saturate the market and will and make the high demand jobs rapidly full and not so demanded anymore. So I think the point, that's such a great point, and thank you so much for joining us live and commenting. So I think the point is, I think what Google does is to really disrupt the traditional education space. And for those of you who don't know me, I taught in the classroom for 10 plus years, and I spent almost 2 decades in higher education teaching in the classroom. And I can tell you from my personal experience of working with almost 3,000 students that the current education model is very broken, especially in terms of technology, social media marketing, business, operation, business development, entrepreneurship. And the reason is students, by the time they graduate, whatever they have learned from the classroom, from their textbooks, is no longer relevant. That is how fast everything's changing. So I'm really excited to see that industry giants like Google, they are making an effort to disrupt traditional education. So I love that, but also I definitely see concerns. You know, if we are using the traditional, if we are using a certification to replace the 4-year college, I think besides the technical skills, there are a lot more to education than earning a certification, than developing some technical skills, right? It's important. That's what I'm talking about here. The biggest challenge facing today's students is actually they do not have enough life skills. So even if they are earning the certifications, I think it is really, really important for the students to not just stop their education after they earn the certifications, but actually supplement their certification with additional ways to cultivate important life skills. And I don't think going to college is the only way to develop those life skills. And for the reason number one I mentioned earlier, you know, GPA is actually inversely related to innovation. I see that in my own students. The higher the GPA, you know, A students, they are less likely to innovate compared to lower academic performance students. Okay, my personal observation. So thank you. Keep the comments coming. So Adobe study. Okay, sorry I got this interrupt here, but I love the questions. So Adobe study, and this again, the study was conducted last year. And they analyzed 2 million job postings and 2 million resumes. Let me remove this for a second so you can see what I have here. So the Adobe study, they actually analyzed 2 million job postings and 2 million resumes. And they also, those job postings and resumes are across 18 industries, very diverse and popular industries. And they also conducted 10 in-depth interviews. So they want to study what is coming and what are the important skills that professional organizations are looking for, and are our students developing those important skills in the classroom. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you in a second to elaborate on the study. Okay, and meanwhile, if you are loving this, feel free to give me some hearts, give this a share, and tag friends who can really benefit from this training. So let me share my screen. And if you, by the way, I also have a workbook. So if you are interested in getting a copy of my workbook, and please write down workbook in the comment section. Okay. So this is the Adobe study, and in the study they talk about, you know, creativity and soft skills. And I want to share. So here they're talking about creativity is a critical and in-demand skill in the 21st century. And I so agree. Now just Adobe from different platform economists and different platforms, they all concluded that creative problem solving is an important 21st century skill. And companies are saying the same, right? Complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity is ranked as number 3. And others are people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, and judgment and decision making, service orientation, negotiation, and cognitive flexibility. Okay, but creativity is a very important. So here we're still talking about why academic performance is only the tip of the iceberg to prepare your children for the future. You see, nobody here is talking about we need a student who has straight A's or 4.0, right? It means nothing. And so here's something really interesting I want to share with you, okay? So all those skills, creativity, emotional intelligence, adaptability, negotiation, soft skills. So if those skills are so important, are our students actually developing and cultivating those important skills in the classroom? From the number you see here, the answer is no. So almost 70% of educators agree that there is not enough emphasis on creative problem solving in today's curriculum. And I so agree with this statement and discovery. So let me stop sharing my screen. Very interesting. And I also want to add, in terms of creativity, yes, I will share. So I actually have a workbook, and make sure you leave workbook in the comment section, and I'm going to follow up. Yes, inversely related. And so this Adobe study, right? They're talking about creativity is so important. And here I want to share with you. A few years ago, or maybe last year, NASA did another study talking about creativity. And it's a paperclip study. Let me know in the comment section if you have ever heard of the paperclip study. So what the study is about is a group of scientists, and they really want to study how creative our children are. And so they ask the 4 years old and 5 years old, hey, guys, how many ways can you think of using a paperclip? And the young children, 4 years old, 5 years old, they were like this, and that. So hundreds of creative ways to use a paperclip. So they scored. I'm going to erase this. So they scored 98% in terms of creativity. So 5 years later, the same group of researchers studied the same group of children and tried to understand their creativity. They asked the same question: how many ways can you think of using a paperclip? So the number from 98% dropped to 50%, 50. And another 5 years later, the number continued to drop. So by the time they graduate, become working professionals, so their creativity, I'm talking about the same group of children here. So their creativity has dropped from 98% to 2%. Pretty crazy, right? So what happened is they become more educated, right? So kind of going back to what the Adobe study was talking about, almost 70% of educators agreed that our current curricula is not giving enough emphasis on creativity and innovation. So that is the Adobe study. And here's another study I want to share. Share my screen. So here's a study published by SHRM. And so this study talking about how organizations are saying that our students are not developing soft skills in college. So besides this article, you can see this is actually a 5-part series. And so part 3 talking about college grads do not have hard skills. So the article I'm sharing with you is part 2, talking about college grads are not developing soft skills. Okay. And so I can share the link, but you can see from the number here, 73% of organizations are actually struggling to find qualified college grads who have the soft skills that their position needs. So again, going back to the Adobe study, are our students developing those important critical thinking, creativity, soft skills while they are in college? The answer is not. But are those skills important? Duh, they are very, very important. Okay. So going back to the Adobe study. So as you can see, only 30% of educators think that we're actually preparing students to develop those skills. So based on those are the 18 industries that they studied. So what's their conclusion? What are the important soft skills that today's students need to cultivate? So take notes or take a screenshot. And so here are the 5 important skills, soft skills, not academic performance. Okay, again, we're talking about here is academic performance, grade point average, and scores that are only the tip of the iceberg to future proof your children. So instead, what are the important skills? Communication, number 1, number 2, creativity, and number 3, collaboration, and creative problem solving and critical thinking. Okay. So today we are talking about, so going back, right? We shared, yes, exactly. So I love this comment from Dan. Thank you for joining our slide. So what are students even paying for? That is a great question. That's why I recommend alternative schools like my school or homeschooling your own children. You don't have to go through this process, and they are developing relevant skills. So, okay, so we're talking about here is why academic performance is only the tip of the iceberg to future-proof our children. So number 1, we discussed GPA is actually inversely related. Number 2, we discussed how Google and IBM, all those companies are no longer looking at degrees. And number 3, we share the Adobe study, and we discuss, how soft skills are actually so important, but our students are actually not developing today's those important soft skills. So what is missing? We're talking about the biggest challenge facing today's students. What's the biggest challenge? So at my school, Classroom Without Walls, I actually developed an iceberg model. So the tip of the iceberg model is school-based learning. But I hope the 3 facts I shared with you shifted how you are thinking about academic performance and school-based learning. And I truly believe school-based learning, if that is the only thing that you are caring about as an educator, as a parent, and you are missing the big picture. Okay, so at my school, we discuss everything that is underneath the iceberg, but you need them to become future ready. Okay, let me use So what is underneath the iceberg that children need to be future ready? One is new media, digital literacy, doing what I'm doing right now. How many students, working professionals can do what I'm doing right now? I don't think there are that many, but is this important? Very important. So this is what we discussed last week. If you missed last week's training, make sure you write down replay. I will share the link with you. And And another important component we cover at my school is life skill, which is what we're discussing today. The biggest challenge facing today's college or facing today's students is that they do not have the important life skills to become future ready. Okay. And last but not least is mindset. Okay, so what we discuss at my school. And if you love this training, make sure you join me live next Tuesday at the same time. And I'm going to talk about mindset and what has teaching in the classroom for 10 plus years taught me about education and success. So make sure you bookmark your calendar and join us live next Tuesday. I'll be talking about that and the mindset. But today we're talking about life skills, okay? So this is the biggest challenge facing today's students, okay? Let me review some of the comment here. Less innovation, critical thinking, real world in both hard and soft skills, the added risk of exactly, right? Totally 100%, not to mention how much debt that our children, our parents are paying. So I hope, as a disruptive educator, from my LinkedIn, you can see that I'm a disruptive educator. And the reason I'm doing this free training is, of course, to introduce you to my own program. But also for a very important reason, even if you don't want to join my program, and I want to, shake you up, wake you up, that the traditional education is no longer sufficient and to prepare our children for the future. There are so many missing links, and you have to supplement or completely, pull your children out, take an alternative approach. And let me read this comment. Thank you for all those comments. Way too in their own bubble, unfortunately. Exactly. I so agree. Like we couldn't even have this conversation maybe 10 years ago, right? Traditionally, that you have to go to a school to learn, because you go to the library and you learn from the teacher, you learn information. But guess what? We are in this information digital economy. Information is everywhere, cheaper, right? So if I'm just thinking, if I could take I teach social media and marketing. So if I could take a marketing class from Seth Godin, for example, with, I don't know, $300 or even $500, why would I send my children to a university and learn from professors who probably do not practice marketing? It does not make sense at all, right? Anyway, got to be too passionate. Well, thank you for those really incredible comments. Okay, so we kind of discussed, why academic learning is the tip of the iceberg. I hope I convinced you and disrupted you a little bit. And then now let's talk about today. So the biggest challenge. Lack of life skills, okay? So this is kind of the second part of today's training. First part, we discussed why academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg. So part 2 is life skills, okay? So why is life skill so important to prepare our children for the future? And why is life skill, remember my iceberg model? So why is life skill an important component even at my own school classroom without words? Okay, so as what I did before, I'm going to share with you 3 facts. Okay, number 1, so many studies have suggested EQ, emotional intelligence, is actually 2 times more predictive of a person's lifelong success than IQ. Okay. EQ, emotional intelligence, is a lot more predictive of a person's success. But again, when you look at the traditional curriculum, and even parents, right? When we talk to our children, we'll ask them, hey, show me your report card. How many A's? Like, what's the score? But the bigger picture here is EQ, right? So EQ, emotional intelligence, under life skills. Okay. Number 2. So I shared Adobe study. So now I'm going to share with you some LinkedIn study. So LinkedIn last year, let me share my screen. If you are loving this training, again, give me some hearts, give this a share, tag some of your friends. So LinkedIn. So LinkedIn last year, they did a huge study and they published a global talent trend report. So in this report, they highlighted 3 major trends transforming tomorrow's workplace. Okay. So here are the 3 trends. Number 1, soft skills, right? So here we're talking about the importance of soft skills. But if you remember what I discussed in the first part of today's training, soft skills, they are not being emphasized in the traditional curriculum, where we're only looking at academic performance, the IQ component. Okay, so this is one study. And so here is another article according to LinkedIn. So earlier this year, they published some of the top skills that are in high demand in 2020. And they divided this into soft skills and hard skills. So under soft skills, again, creativity, number 1, the same as the Adobe study. Number 2, persuasion. And number 3, collaboration. And number 4, adaptability. And number 5, emotional intelligence. Okay, so all those studies, LinkedIn, Adobe, and they are really highlighting the importance of life skills. And this is why, at my school, under life skills, we're actually talking about the 4C and emotional intelligence. For those of you who are not familiar with the 4C, they include communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And so on top of that, I added emotional intelligence for the first reason that I shared earlier. EQ is 2 times more predictive of a person's success than IQ. Okay. So and also, I forgot, I just see my note here. I missed a very important point earlier. And so the Adobe study I already mentioned, going back to the why academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg. Do you guys actually know that children who are attending high achieving schools, they are more likely to have addiction issues compared to children who are attending normal schools? And addiction include drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, all sorts of behavioral issues. So there is actually an article published on Washington Post earlier this year saying that high achieving students are now called at risk group, right? Pretty alarming. Going back to what we mentioned earlier, why academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg. Okay. And so why life skill important, right? The Adobe study also mentioned this. LinkedIn talked about this. So I hope I convinced you so far why academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg, and at the same time, why life skills are so important. But unfortunately, the traditional educational system is not really helping our children to develop those important life skills. That's why at my school, we make such a big deal to help our students cultivate those important life skills. Okay. So we discussed the problem. We discussed why this is important. So the next important question is, okay, Dr. I, this is great. So my children are not learning, or me, I'm not developing those skills. What can I do to develop those life skills? I'm glad you asked. So I'm going to share with you 3 ideas that you can use to develop those important life skills. Okay. Number 1. So number 1 is collaborative storytelling. You see, from all the studies I cited earlier, and they're all talking about, yeah, so how should we respond? So this is what I'm going to share with you. So what are some ways that you can do at home, or supplements, or join alternative programs to really help your children or young adults, if you are a working professional, to actually develop those important skills. So number 1 is collaborative storytelling. And so in the LinkedIn article I shared with you earlier, they listed a number of hard skills, a number of soft skills. I showed you soft skills, but I didn't have a chance to show you the hard skills. Storytelling is actually a very important hard skill, and collaboration is an important soft skill. So my favorite way to practice collaborative storytelling is Adobe Spark. Let me know in the comment section, have you ever heard of Adobe Spark? This is free, so let me show you real quick. Share my screen. So what you need to do is, like, if you just Google Adobe Spark, and you will enter this page, and this is free. Once you enter Adobe Spark, you can log in using your email. And on Adobe Spark, you can see that you can do, again, this is free, okay? You don't have to pay Adobe. There are many amazing tools that you do have to pay, but Adobe Spark is free, okay? As you can see, you can use Adobe Spark to create, Instagram stories and so many things. So what I'm about to share with you is this, to actually create a web page on the left side of the screen. Click on that. So here is the story. My own children, they have been using Adobe Spark. My older son has been using Adobe Spark since he was 6 years old, okay? So let's talk about collaborative storytelling, okay? So with Adobe Spark, you can choose different themes. It's very, very easy to use. You should even ask your students or children, working professionals, to even use this to create a website, okay? And so what I love the most, you can add like a photo, you can add like pictures. Let's choose a free one. Writing something, talking about, oh, look, pretty cool, right? How long did it take me? 2 seconds. You can add videos, you can add images, you can also add text. This is how the story goes, right? So you can talk about something, you can start writing about this, and with Adobe Spark, look, this people icon, you can invite another person, write down their email address, whatever, and you can invite them to co-write the story. So my own children love this, right? Collaborative storytelling. And then you are using a free tool, Adobe Spark, to practice that collaborative storytelling. So my own children are 5 and 8. So at my own school, our children are middle age, high school age, college age students. So if you want to collaborate with my own children or with my own students, leave a note in the comment section and I will match them up. They can practice collaborative storytelling. Let's say that they're all into a movie, they're all into computer games, whatever they are really passionate about, let them work on a story. So after they finish that story, they can publish the story on different social media channels. They can create their own hashtag. But anyway, lots of different options. And again, I talked about this last week during my third training, how to use social media as a way to build our career readiness. If you want to watch that training, let me know in the comment sections. Okay, so solution number 1, collaborative storytelling using Adobe Spark. You are developing digital storytelling skills. You are also cultivating soft skills. Okay, solution number 2, so solution number 2 is actually doing what I'm doing right now to launch a live streaming podcast. Okay. And I have 2 podcasts. On every Wednesday, my podcast focuses on social media marketing and business development. On every Friday, my other podcast focuses on education, disruptive education. I can't tell you how much both of my podcasts have improved me as a mom, as an educator, as an entrepreneur, and how much they have 10 times my business. Many of my clients actually discovered me through my podcast or free training like this. Okay, so why don't you ask your children, or again, I'm talking about youth, young adults, working professionals, why don't you ask them to launch a live streaming podcast to teach people or to share their passion? My favorite one is to actually do an interview format, because again, we're talking about our students are not developing life skills through the traditional century-old educational system. So you like a really powerful way to develop those life skills, especially right now during COVID, is actually practicing communication, practicing human interaction, actually doing projects in real life. The fact that they are launching a live streaming podcast through the interview format, they are actually reaching out people, hey, can you be on my podcast? They are practicing digital storytelling, research skills, talking to the camera, listening skills, collaboration skills, and importantly, communication skills, right? Adobe, LinkedIn, McKinsey, all the studies I shared earlier, they all talked about the importance of communication skills. So launch a live streaming podcast. And this is also Adobe Spark, and the podcast is what I teach at my 3-month Life Accelerator program. If you are interested, I'm going to share that in a second. Okay, so this is solution number 2. I'm going to wrap this up in 5 minutes. And solution number 3 is actually selling stuff online. And again, using my own children as an example, my 8 years old, he just turned 9. So he has been selling stuff on eBay with great success. Not in terms of how much money he has made some, but in terms of developing all those important life skills, especially critical thinking, because there are lots of spammers out there. So we actually engage in a very elaborate discussion about spammers, who are spammers, and how can you tell if they are a spammer, or how can you tell if someone is really interested in buying from you. And I really encourage you to use selling stuff online, whatever they can design. And my own children are really into, and even students at my own program, many of them are really into drawing. They are designing their own t-shirt, they're designing their own mugs, and sell stuff online. It is one of the best ways to develop important life skills. Okay, so those are the 3 solutions. And again, this is what I teach at my own program. And what I teach at my own 3 months Life Accelerator program. And we are actually, so our next cohort actually starts on September 14th. So if you are interested, definitely send me a message. And the curriculum that we use is what I shared with you earlier. So all the examples I share with you, you know, like launching a podcast, Adobe Spark, selling stuff on eBay, they are what I work with my students. So this is my iceberg model, which is the curriculum that we use at my own school. So my 3 months Life Accelerator program covers everything underneath the tip of the iceberg to future-proof the next generation. And we cover new media literacy, like what I'm doing right now, work on their LinkedIn online presence. We also cover life skills through different projects I shared earlier. Last but not least, we cover mindset. So if what I'm sharing with you right now resonates with you, and if you are interested in joining the program, we change lives from the inside out. For those of you who are joining me live on LinkedIn, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you will see tons of testimonials from students, from parents. Oftentimes, a parent will come to me with tears in their eyes for transforming their own children from the inside out. And we actually follow a mixed age model. And we even have people like in my program who are like my age join my program. Hey, Davey. And so if you are interested in application only, and our next cohort starts on September 14th. If you are interested in joining the next cohort, please let me know. And also my next training, so make sure you bookmark the calendar. And next Tuesday, same time, same location, I'll be talking about how has teaching in the classroom for 10 plus years taught me about education and success. So make sure you bookmark your calendar. I hope you enjoyed today's training. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining me live. And again, if you are interested in the program, and please feel free to message me. And also tomorrow, Wednesday, on my social media podcast, I will be talking about a 3C model that I developed to build my brand from being nobody to becoming a thought leader, an influencer. And so bookmark your calendar and join me tomorrow on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me live. I hope you enjoyed today's training. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.